On today's show, why it's not time to panic yet. Despite a 2-0 series deficit, the Ottawa Senators are heading home.
And what adjustments do the Sens need to make in Game 3 to get their first win of the series?
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel to get started. Today is Wednesday, April 23rd, and Pilsy, despite my intro, Game 3 is a must-win for the Senators.
Yeah, I mean, going down 2-0 in Toronto is not what we wanted for this series. The split would have been so good, but that's playoff hockey, and that's overtime hockey. Everything is so close. All the details matter, and the Toronto Maple Leafs were able to jump on the Sens in overtime. Max Domi gets the winner. Couple tough plays that we'll get into here, but man, the Ottawa Senators, it's tough because this is the second game where you can look at it and be like, all right, there's some positives to this play. And game 2 especially, like, I'm proud of how this team fought back, gets it to overtime. I thought they controlled the pace of the play for a lot of the game. But when you don't get the results, it's tough to kind of lean on the process here as you're down 2-0 going back to the nation's capital.
And the Leafs are happy to play rope-a-dope. We had a comment on YouTube that the Leafs record when they get outshot in games is 33-12-3. They're comfortable in playing in those types of games, but it wasn't like it was an Austin Matthews breakaway in overtime or Mitch Marner making a beautiful play or William Nylander finding his way into the slot. It was Max Domi on a 2-on-4 rush.
Yeah.
Ottawa's got to clean that up on multiple levels. The Drake Batherson giveaway is not a playoff play. A backhand saucer pass into the slot on a 3-on-2 rush, it's just not the play. And if you're going to make that giveaway, you have to get back and do everything you can to avoid a scoring opportunity the other way. And instead, he puck watches. Dylan Cousins doesn't help him out at all. But this, to me, is Drake Batherson needs to be more physical. Even if he doesn't knock Max Domi into next week, which I felt like he could have. Domi was cutting across the middle with his head down. He didn't get the puck. He didn't get the body. And it's curtains right after that. A perfectly placed shot off the post and in. But that's a very important moment in the game, and Drake Batherson's going to have nightmares about that one, just like all Sens fans did after that game.
Yeah, I think obviously it's not a good look for Cousins or Batherson, but when you're Batherson, you're the one that turns the puck over like that. Like, I'm not even going to call it a pass, Ross, because looking back on that, Batherson's got to be like, what are my percentages of making that pass? And why did I do it on my backhand? Why did I try to get it through the middle like that? And that's one thing. All right. You mess up on the pass there, but coming back, sure, maybe you'd like Dylan Cousins to play the body there, but I don't have a huge issue with what happens there. Max Domi makes a nice play to get around him. Not ideal, but it happens. But Batherson's got him in the train tracks. Domi head down trying to get around him. Like you said, you don't have to destroy him, but that's a moment where you just saw your teammate, Dylan Cousins, try to play the puck and he gets beat. So don't do that. Just play the man. Like, just go right for his shoulders. Just try to knock him. You don't even have to knock him off the puck, Ross. You just have to disrupt his path to the middle of the ice and then his lane to take that shot. And like Batherson's, it's not like this guy is a 5'8", 150-pound guy. Like, he's got the size, he's got the strength that, at the very least, he can disrupt Max Domi's path. And man, watching that replay is just so tough. It's like watching it live, Ross. I was like, okay, bad turnover, but whatever. The boys got back. There's 4 of them back there. It's Max Domi and Benoit. It's not Riley and Nylander. It's not OEL and Matthews. Like, you should be able to handle this situation, and they're not able to. And I mean, even you can put a bit of the blame on Thomas Chabot as well, screening Linus Ullmark, but I don't blame him for trying to do that because I feel like the Sens team doesn't have a lot of faith that Ullmark's going to be confident enough to make a save. And maybe if Ullmark sees that, he makes the save, but it's just tough when you've got Stolarz who's performing the way he is and Ullmark's not able to exude that same kind of confidence.
The good news is that after 4 periods, the Ottawa Senators learned how to play playoff hockey. That first period was one of the worst periods they played all season long. They're down 2-0 early. It was atrocious. The puck battle percentages won per Sport Logique. I saw Luke Fox of Sportsnet tweet this out. 86% of puck battles the Leafs won in the first period. And frankly, that felt a little low. They were last to every single puck. It felt like they were playing a regular season game. It was like they were timid to go in and earn pucks. But the good news is the last 2 periods and even into overtime where they had a couple chances themselves, I felt like they had some offensive zone possession. They had a couple key face-off wins as well. It's just unfortunate it ends the way that it did. But if I'm Travis Green, I'm harping on the positives with this group. Toronto Maple Leafs got home ice for a reason. They won the division. They win their 2 home games. Now it turns the pressure onto Ottawa for the first time this series where their backs are up against their wall. You cannot go down 3-0. So how can they build off of momentum? And it's strange to say building momentum when you lose the game, but to come back from down 2-0 to tie it with 5 minutes left, they showed themselves that they can play with this team in a high pressure environment. And we'll see. It's going to take the entire crowd too to pump these guys up when they get back home and show them that they've got a true home ice advantage in this series. I cannot wait for tomorrow night. Sens aren't even skating today. It's going to be off ice meeting. I'm convinced that because Brady Tkachuk is less than 100%, they're just like, let's not have it a storyline that Brady's not on the ice for practice. And they obviously played an overtime game last night. So makes sense on that front too. But they need to come out in the first period and score first. The Senators have not led in this series. And that's why I think a lot of Leaf fans have the arrogance and confidence that they're going to win this series in 4 or 5 games. Ottawa has to plant a seed of doubt. You saw it a little bit. I saw a little panic in the Leafs game once they got to a tie, but they were able to persevere and get the game-winning goal. So for Ottawa, it's about planting a seed of doubt in the first period where they've now been outscored 4-1 through 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, and we're going to dive deeper into it, but I think that's the biggest adjustment this team needs to make because Toronto's comfortable capitalizing on their chances early and then just holding their opponents, specifically the Ottawa Senators, to perimeter shots because they believe Stolarz is going to make the save and hold it, corral it, cover it. Or if he does let a rebound out, they're confident that the size and the strength of their defensemen can box out and allow the Ottawa Senators not to jump on that rebound. Like how many times, Ross, and the Ottawa Senators are clearly targeting this, in my opinion. They're getting those low shots, so it bounces off Stolar's pads. As a goalie, there's only so much you can do. If it's a low shot, it's going to hit your pads. It's going to bounce out. It's about controlling where that puck bounces, and it's about trusting your defenseman to clear out the slot so that that rebound isn't dangerous. There's so many rebounds where the puck's there, but Sens players are just tied up and they can't get to it. And sure, maybe they get to it once it's in the corner and they retrieve it, but the Leafs are fine with that because now you're on the perimeter again and they're like, go ahead, try it again. And that's where they had success. But if you can get a good start and if you can dictate the pace of play and you can get a lead early, then the Leafs can't rely on just allowing you to continue building that offense because they're going to have to make some, I don't want to say cheat offensively, but they're going to have to take some risks offensively to try to capitalize on their own. So yeah, the fact that the Sens have had 2 games back to back where they start atrociously and let the Leafs control play is a big reason, if not maybe even the main reason why they're down 2-0 here.
But is it time to panic? That's a question we'll discuss on the other side. What adjustments need to be made when the series shifts to the nation's capital? And also a wild stat that an Ottawa Senators player is second in the league in the playoffs so far. We'll get into all that. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting easy. The website, the app is so easy to navigate, whether I'm picking my favorite team or diving into player props. You got three-pointers, steals, assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, even after the game tips off, it's live, it's happening. You can combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out, guys. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
All right, Pilsy. Senators fall 3-2 in overtime. They now trail the best of 7 series 2-0 in Toronto. Both games felt like they were winnable in different ways. When Ottawa got down 2-1 in game 1, they had the Brady Tkachuk breakaway, they had the Shane Pinto chance, and it all fell apart with penalties from there. So maybe I should say there was a moment in the game where it felt winnable.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't feel like game 1 was that winnable, but game 2, like, the hockey gods are cruel. It really felt like this was the Sens game to win. They deserved it. Good against evil. It felt like, all right, evil got one. They laughed it up. Now it's the good guys' turn to tie it up here. And I don't know. I like, honestly, Ross, when it got to overtime, I felt like the momentum was so much in the Sens' favor. And this is probably getting ahead of myself, which obviously it was. I had the mindset like, not who's going to win this game, but who's going to score for the Sens and make their mark in Sens playoff history and add to that montage of overtime goals in the Battle of Ontario where the Senators only have one Mike Fisher versus, I don't know, it was like 6 Leafs players. So I was already imagining Fabian Zetterlund getting that goal. That was my prediction. But man, it sucks that we're here down 2-0, Ross, but I just want to take a moment to reflect and be grateful that at least we're here, right? Like the privilege to be in playoff hockey, to be playing past the regular season. It's better to feel pain than nothing at all. When we were doing the podcast in late April, May, and June in years past, Ross, we're just looking at other teams, how they're playing, trying to pick our favorite Sens abroad players, hoping that the Leafs lose, those kinds of things. Well, now we're still hoping the Leafs lose. We're still watching our favorite Sens players in playoffs, but at least we're in the action. You get to feel that heat. When Gaudette scored that goal, I was jumping around. I was fist pumping. I was yelling and screaming. Like I was feeling so good. And then having it in overtime, fully leaned over on the couch, watching every single play, yelling and screaming. It's great to be back. I know we're down 2-0, but we're heading back to Ottawa. Let's lead into this conversation, Ross. As the captain said, Brady Tkachuk, there's no panic in the room. Sens fans, it is not time to panic.
So the question is, why? Why is it not time to panic despite being down 2-0 and never leading in the series?
Great question, Ross Levitan from the Locked On Senators podcast. Look, obviously the 6-2 score in game 1 is alarming, but if you look at how that game goes and you look at the adjustments and the reasons why the Sens lost that game, at least you can pinpoint the problems, right? Discipline was a big one. The Ottawa Senators, they only give the Leafs 1 power play in game 2. Now the Leafs score on that power play 1-for-1, 100%.
Seconds,
yeah, and that was Ross. As soon as it got to the 10-second mark, I was like, okay, nice. They lasted more than 10 seconds in this power play. 18 seconds later, yikes. But that doesn't become the story of this game, is what I'm getting at, right? Like, sure, the Leafs going 1-for-1 is huge, and you would have liked to get a clean sheet on the penalty kill mark, but you don't get that. But that's not the story of this game. The Ottawa Senators are able to play a good game 5-on-5 still. I like the way they were able to possess the puck. They had more O-zone possession time. Linus Ullmark gives this team a chance to win. Was he the better goalie? Absolutely not. Did he make grade A saves? Maybe 1, maybe 2. You still need him to be better, but the problems of the lack of discipline and Linus Ullmark falling apart, that wasn't the story of game 2. So at least you can now head home with the confidence that those big issues that caused that 6-2 win for the Leafs, those aren't glaring issues, and you've identified them and you've been able to move past them to push the Leafs right to the brink, come back down from 2-0 in the game, get to overtime, and it's one poor back check that ultimately leads to the Leafs winning that one. So I think, Ross, if you're identifying the problems and you're not fixing them, or there's brand new problems arising that you feel like you can't overcome or control, then I feel like it would be time to panic. But I still have confidence that this team can push back. We saw them beat the Leafs 3 games out of 3 in the regular season. Now, I know that's completely different, but at least if you're the Sens, you can sit there and be like, all right, we know that we can do this and we know we can hang in here. We just need to find a way to push it to the brink and get over that hump. Yeah.
And in another sense, Linus Ullmark, even though he had a save percentage of .875 last night, or 57, I felt like he did make some saves. I was really nervous about the first shot. Ends up being a partial breakaway from Pontus Holmberg. Makes a good save there. Made a couple of good saves in the third period on Austin Matthews, where he swatted out of midair after making a stick save. But he needs to steal a game for the Ottawa Senators, and he hasn't done that yet. So the stats would show this regular season and in previous years for Linus Ullmark, he has the ability to steal games. His playoff numbers are just not good, and he needs to fix that in a hurry. This cannot be a situation where we get mediocre goaltending. Like it might not necessarily be awful, and I disagree with the chat last night that's looking for Levi Merilainen, who I don't believe would play, even if they do decide to go a different direction. Anton Forsberg is the backup goalie on this team. I just need Linus Ullmark to steal a game. If Ottawa is going to get back even into a game 6, game 7 situation this series, Linus Ullmark needs to be a difference maker. And right now he's as average, if not below average, as it gets.
Oh, that's totally fair. I mean, he doesn't have a game above 900 save percentage. Like, mediocre is probably even being generous, Ross, if we're being honest here. But that's another reason. I'll spin zone that into another reason why it's not time to panic. We haven't even seen close to the Linus Ullmark Sens fans know can show up here. And if he had been playing lights out and the Sens still go down 2-0 into this series, I think I'm probably starting to panic, because you're like, the goaltending was supposed to be the number one thing that holds this team together. And if Linus Ullmark was strong and the rest of the team couldn't figure it out and we're still getting dominated, I think it's a different story. And sure, maybe I'm spin zoning this. Maybe this is ultimate cope. Say what you want, Leafs fans. But the way I look at it, if Linus Ullmark can play up to his Vezina winning caliber style that we've seen in the regular season for long stretches even, this team can really turn things around here. And we haven't seen that yet.
No, we haven't. And we also haven't seen Brady Tkachuk dominate a game. And we know that he missed 8 games at the end of the season, and he finally got his first playoff goal in game 2, the first goal off a skate. Classic Brady Tkachuk first playoff goal off of Brandon Carlo and in. Well, all 4 of the goals in regulation didn't go straight in.
Yeah, they're all deflections.
All of them. 2 of them off their own players. Nick Jensen in the first period, and then Brandon Carlo in the second, and then Adam Gaudette gets the deflection off the Tyler Kleven point shot in the third period to tie things up. So Max Domi's goal in overtime was the first goal that went off a stick into the net directly, and it ends up costing the Senators game 2 here. So I'm not panicked, but if the first period is what we saw last game, I'll be panicked within minutes of game 3. They need to come out and dictate at home the way that Toronto did in their building.
Well, and especially Ross, like that was, if you watch Brady Tkachuk's post-game presser, that was his main point was, all right, we're down 2-0 on the road, but we're coming home. We're coming to the CTC. Sens fans have waited a long time for this. We need that building to be buzzing. So that's crucial, because unfortunately it's a dynamic for the Ottawa Senators. Anytime the Leafs or Habs come, there's going to be probably a lot of them in the building, hopefully not as many as usual. But if, let's say, the Leafs get off to another great start and it's the Leafs portion of the crowd that gets to make the noise and kind of dictate the energy in the building, that's going to be tough. So the Ottawa Senators need to find a way to get a jump start, get a goal early, get the lead early, get Sens fans into the game, get the crowd on their side. And that's going to be huge momentum-wise. So I can't wait. It's going to be my first ever NHL playoff game, first ever Ottawa Senators playoff game. I've heard the rumors, I've heard the stories, I've heard the legends, Ross, of what the CTC is like in the playoffs, and I can't wait to be a part of it.
And hopefully the Ottawa Senators put on a good show. What adjustments would have to go in to a good show? We'll get to that next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Well, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Pistachios are one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love the salt and pepper flavor. Check them out. The light purple bag. Ross loves the lightly salted. But if you don't want to deal with the shells and you just want straight pistachios, check out the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether you're snacking at your desk at the postcast, on a road trip to the nation's capital like me today, actually, or you just need a quick protein boost. They're always a classic go-to. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
All right, Pilsy, it is time to turn the page from a disappointing first 2 games of this series that saw the Ottawa Senators fail to take any leads and lose in heartbreaking fashion in Game 2. Before I move on, though, would you call pistachios the oysters of the tree?
Yes, I would. That's actually a great way to put that.
like
Pistachio Pilsy co-signs that one.
Okay, good. Just want to get that out there. While we're off topic, quick shout out to Luke Ellenis, Ottawa Senators prospect in Kitchener. 2 goals, including the OT game winner in Game 7 of their best of 7 series against Kingston. So shout out to a Sens prospect
against Windsor.
Oh, right. Our guy Gabriel Eliasson, Ellenis. Eliasson and the Barrie Colts beat the Kingston Frontenacs in Game 7 last night, too. So lots of Sens prospects moving on in the Ontario Hockey League. And tonight,
Wait. Oh, yeah. Okay. I want to touch on Ellenis, but go ahead with Carter Yakimchuk.
Game 7 tonight. Lethbridge versus Calgary.
Yeah, so exciting times for Sens prospects in the playoffs. But, Ross, I just want to say the Kitchener Rangers were down 3-0 in their series. Now, obviously, that's not a spot you want to be in, but it is not impossible to come back when you're down in a series. The Kitchener Rangers did it. A Sens prospect was the hero. So that's another reason why it is not time to panic. The Ottawa Senators are not down 3-0. They're only down 2-0. The old saying, you're not in trouble till you lose at home. Game 3 is going to be absolutely massive, but I don't want to see the panic in Sens fans. I don't want to see the idea that this team or the fan base should give up. Let the Leafs fans enjoy their 2-0 lead. They've earned it. You got to tip your cap to them, but there's no reason why Sens should be down and out here. Lots of hockey left. You cannot win a series in 2 games, in my opinion. So let's keep that attitude here.
Yeah, one of the best home teams in the National Hockey League this season, too. So Ottawa's coming back to friendly confines, and they need to bring it, and so do the fans. Excitement should be the feeling around town more than anything right now. Okay, Pilsy, on the ice, adjustments. I'll start with the easy one, something we've already mentioned. The start needs to be electric. The start needs to be what Leafs did in both the games, and that's a goal in the first 5 minutes. Let's get them on their heels and get momentum. And Ottawa plays well when they have the lead, and they've been chasing games. They cannot be doing that. They need to get out on top. A 2-goal lead would be even better.
So having said that, Ross, I believe both of us were, we had some different opinions. So I want to see where you're at now. Finally, the game shifts to where the Ottawa Senators have last change. They choose the matchups. Who are you starting? Game 1 or Game 3 opening draw?
Opening draw. I thought you were going with goalie. I was like, give me a break.
That has nothing to do with the home matchup. Your goal. You don't wait to see what goalie they put in and then put yours in.
No, but I was like, what's he getting at
You
here?
know, Ross, I'm the one banging the drum that they can't switch goalies here. Come on.
No, I'm starting Timmy, Brady, and Giroux.
Okay, and on defense?
Sanderson and Zub. That's the easiest one. I actually need Shabbat and Jensen to be so much better than they have been in these first 2 games. But yeah, you're starting your big dogs. I mean,
But
Brady might just start himself if Travis Green doesn't put him out there. He's gonna be so jacked up.
totally. But does the line that the Leafs put out change anything? No matter who the Leafs put out, that's who you're starting?
Yeah, for the first shift. First playoff game in 8 years, you put your big guys out who've waited the longest, and on defense, you have to put out your best players.
Nope, I agree. I thought you might go with maybe the shutdown line just so that you don't give up a lead right away. But
Yeah,
but but I'm with you. You got to go full court press. You got to play like you want to win, not play like you're trying not to lose. In my opinion, in this situation, you got to give Brady the opportunity. He's the captain. He's the leader. He's the one that said they want the CTC to be buzzing. Well, get out there, Brady. Give him a reason to be buzzing. Throw a big hit. Make a big play. Let's go. I'm not fully down on Brady because he's still getting shots. He's still getting hits, but it is tough, Ross. I'm sure there's still a bit of the lingering injury. I think that is kind of clear to Sens fans that no, there's a different Brady Tkachuk waiting there that maybe he's just not able to fully access, not being 100%. But it's just tough when that was a big part of our narrative was wait till Brady gets to the postseason and things are going to change. And I'm not blaming Brady here if he is injured. I mean, there's only so much you can do, but that's a big factor to the Ottawa Senators having success as their leader, dragging guys into the battle and playing his style of game. Maybe it's been some time. Hopefully he's a little bit more rested up, even though, I mean, playing 2 playoff games, 1 going overtime, not exactly rest and relaxation, but the buzz of being back home and being able to dictate how things go, hopefully that puts a big boost in Brady's game.
The biggest X factor is even before the puck drops. A Lyndon Sluage 1 anthem game in the playoffs. You know what? We said don't panic. If Lyndon Sluage isn't doing the anthem, we panic.
I just unless Lyndon Sluage is day to day and not healthy, there would be no reasonable explanation that I would accept for him not singing the anthem. Both games, all home games. They need to set him up in a suite in the CTC, and he just lives there, and he practices, he gets ready, he's catered to at his beck and call. We need him 100% ready to go.
That salute, kiss, thumbs up is going to feed families for generations to come, and the Senators need to match that on the ice. They also have to get into the middle of the ice a little bit better. Unfortunately, the last time they did that in game 2, great save from Anthony Stolarz on Dylan Cousins in the last minute of regulation.
That was the one, Ross. That was the one. Like, Cousins got his shot off. He picked his spot. Amazing save. There's not much you can do there. If that one finds its way in and you don't even get to overtime, oh man.
Yeah. They need to. They need to find a way to open up a game.
And another adjustment I want to get into, Ross, this is one thing I noticed, and I'm curious if you noticed it as well. The Sens' first pass has been absolutely brutal. Like that pass transitioning out of their own zone to the neutral zone. And this is one thing I get on, and I feel like there's different opinions on it, but sometimes they're just putting too much whip on that thing. Like, make a nice crisp pass. Don't fire it at the guy so it's bouncing off his stick. I know part of the onus is to be able to accept a hard pass, but you don't need to pass it harder than you need to, because then it just has guys extending and then they're out of position in vulnerable positions. You're passing it too hard so it's not accurate. Focus on getting it on the tape and making that first pass crisp and nice so the guy can receive it in stride. I just felt like guys were rifling it on the first pass and giving the receiver no opportunity to properly accept it. And then that just throws everything off. The Leafs are able to turn it around, and now you've just wasted potential possession there. That was one thing I really noticed.
Yeah, that's a very good adjustment to me defensively. I mentioned it briefly, but Shabbat and Jensen need to be better, and that's a part of it too. Their breakouts haven't been great. Their defensive zone coverage hasn't been great. Feels like Shabbat's kind of playing that a bit of a lackadaisical style where it feels like there's not as much urgency in his game that you'd like to see. That needs to be fixed in a hurry. So.
Yeah. One more thing. We talked about Fabian Zetterlund. Where do you want him playing game 3?
Well, last night I was a little bit emotional by saying that you have to break up Cousins and Batherson. I just said like,
oh wow, okay.
I know I didn't mean that. Sometimes I just say things because I get scared. No, but I feel like there has to be some level of accountability for that. It cost them the game. Literally cost them the game. But I know they put Zetterlund up on the line with those two, and I thought it was a good move. Now, I don't think this is a slap in the face for David Perron because I think he's actually had a pretty decent series in terms of hanging on to pucks and doing what he does best. I don't know what I do with that second line. I probably started with Zetterlund there with Cousins and Batherson. You're looking for quick strike offense, but if they started Batherson on the fourth line for at least a couple shifts, it wouldn't bother me that much either. And go with Cousins with Perron, Zetterlund as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the onus is on Batherson there. I think he would be the first to tell you that he knows that was his mistake. But just, it's interesting, natural stat trick, Ross, the Sens forward lines. Perron, Cousins, Batherson played 5:33, 5-on-5. Zetterlund, Cousins, Batherson, 5:40. So very similar. We're talking a 7-second difference in time on ice, 5-on-5. With Zetterlund on that line, their Corsi for percentage, 64.71. With Perron on that line, 25%. So, like,
yeah,
I hate to do it to a guy like Perron, and I don't feel like he deserves a punishment or a demotion, but I think I'm starting that game Perron on the fourth line and Zetterlund on that second line.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that sentiment. And you get your matchups on this game 3 and game 4. So I think that's another adjustment. I think Travis Green actually did a great job of getting the Pinto line out there against Matthews. But you could argue that Stutzel's line had more success 5-on-5 against Austin Matthews' line. So it'll be really fascinating to see the chess match between the coaches now that the series shifts to Ottawa. But if the Sens can't get out with a lead at any point in this game, it's not going to matter. So it's how are you going to generate the most offense? And I think getting Zetterlund into the top 6 is a complete no-brainer. It's just, to me, whether you're going to put David Perron down there or if you're going to send a message at least early in the game and limit Drake Batherson's ice time to maybe offensive zone draws, that sort of thing. But if the big boys got to show up, this is gut check time. We talk about how the pressure was on the Maple Leafs going into this series 100% of the way. Pressure's on Ottawa now. Yep. If they want to make this a series, they want to have a respectable series, they've got to show up now at home. And that's going to be what I'm watching for is the starts, the power play. They did get that one goal, but I still think they can be better in terms of more urgency on the power play. You see how Toronto's just shooting right away. Ottawa was very passive, passing the puck at the top of the umbrella, looking for the perfect play. And it's just not how you're going to generate offensive chances. Just get pucks on net, bang away at rebounds. That's how the Senators have been successful this season.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say about that, though, Ross, is the Toronto Maple Leafs, they did a really good job blocking shots. 32 block shots for the Leafs, 6 for the Senators. So I believe the Sens are trying to get pucks on net. It's just the Leafs, they have that defensive mindset, especially on the back end, and they're doing a great job blocking shots.
For more on last night's game, check out the postcast where Jack and Martian had their takes on all things Ottawa Senators. All three of y'all are going to be in the building tomorrow night. I'm on dad duty, so I'll be manning the postcast from right here on the outskirts of enemy territory. I'll have major FOMO, but I hope you boys get a big victory in game 3. We'll have a game day preview for you tomorrow. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Well, actually, this worked out perfectly, Ross, because you just mentioned one of my final thoughts. We talk about in-game adjustments for the team. I think we need to take a look at tinkering with the opening there. The tagline of you being on the outskirts of enemy territory. the Winnipeg Jets are not the Ottawa Senators' enemy
True.
right now. And people listening, like Leafs fans, are probably like, "Oh, I didn't know Ross lives in Vaughan. Is he in Oakville?" That's not a Scarborough background. So the Jets are the farthest thing from our enemy right now, Ross.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm closer to the outskirts of enemy territory than you are.
No, you're in the heart of it, buddy. In Collingwood, that's the heart.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I got all the retired Leafs players here, but it took me 2 hours and 45 minutes to get home yesterday from the heart of enemy territory, and I'm feeling the Leafs land push here. Everywhere I go wearing my Sens head, I feel it, but I wear it proud still. So, Ross, I think that's I know you're a creature of habit, but I think we may need to make an adjustment there on the outskirts of enemy territory tagline.
All right, we will have team meetings today. We'll have off camera team meetings, just like
video analysis.
Yep, and we'll see what we can do tomorrow because we got to change up something. Senators down 2-0 in this series. If you like the show, please hit the thumbs up below, like and subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend about Locked On Senators. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan, and this has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.